Hi everybody, and welcome to another WOW webinar session. I feel very privileged today. I've got a guest who a number of my members have seen in action before, and I'm sure they're going to be pretty excited to see him again. But many of you may not have seen this guest of mine in action before. Very good friend of mine. He's a former senior employee of the Disney organization in the US. In fact, he was involved in running their resorts in Walt Disney World for about 10 years. And prior to that was in a number of high profile positions in the hospitality game. Ladies and gentlemen, can I introduce my very good friend, Mr. John Formica. How are you, John?
I'm doing great, JD. It's a pleasure to be with you tonight.
Well, thank you very much, mate. And of course, yes, it is night time, your time, isn't it, because of the time difference. So therefore, John's been very kind to have about 3 cups of coffee and stay up late. So thanks for that, John.
Absolutely. No problem at all, JD. Anything for you and your wonderful audience. To help them be better, more successful, I'm all for.
Thank you, John. Now, let me just, before I get you speaking about today's topic, which is all about how to find the right people for your business and how to create the right environment in your business for it to grow. Let me just introduce you, John, and explain to people, just how rich your content is. John was with the resort division of Walt Disney World in Florida for about a decade and has some incredible success stories in terms of the resorts that he managed. And John's since left the Disney organization and tours on conferences and seminars throughout America, known as an ex-Disney guy, really, where he provides a lot of advice, a lot of recommendations, and a lot of unbelievably unique tips to business owners across the US and internationally on just how they can run their business like Disney. And John's been on my stage live here in Australia a couple of times. It's been a real blast working with him because he hadn't been to Australia before, and now we've got him saying fair dinkum. John, can you say fair dinkum for us?
Say what, sir?
Can you say fair dinkum for us? Fair dinkum.
Fair income.
Fair dinkum, mate.
Fair income, mate.
Yeah, see, he's almost there.
I'm almost there.
Yeah,
sounding a little bit way too long.
Yeah, a little bit like Greg Norman. Greg Norman's the golfer accent is half American, half Australian, which is really weird. Yeah, John, listen, Disney pride themselves on providing extraordinary customer experiences rather than just giving customer service. We're sort of familiar because I've been in your presentations a number of times, just how important it is for businesses to deliver knockout customer experiences rather than just giving good customer service, because we all expect good customer service. That's not going to be water cooler conversation on Monday morning if we've been to a restaurant or somewhere that just gave us good customer service, but we will be water cooler conversation if you knock their socks off with unbelievable Disney style customer experiences. Can you explain to us what your mantra is overall and then how that morphs into selecting the right staff for your business?
Absolutely, JD. You hit the nail on the head when you said it is not about service. It's about creating an experience that is memorable. People will talk about it. People will refer to it. I get most organizations and businesses, we need to serve our customers. So I get the customer service aspect of things, that we need to serve our customers. But when you just serve your customers, JD, you become average. Anybody can do that. And then what happens is, as a consumer, we're trying to figure out, okay, you're all alike. There's no difference between the other ones. So what usually happens is, we're all human. We're going to go the one with the cheapest, or the one that's the shortest distance to get there. And as a business owner, sometimes we don't have those advantages. So what I try to do is, if you want to create an advantage over your competition, be more memorable, likable, top of mind awareness, get more referrals, and more importantly, we already have, we need to make sure we create an experience that is like Disney, like it's magical. And so what I really try to, people ask me, how do you do that? How does Disney do that? I kind of share those strategies and what I call tips that any business can do the same thing, that if Disney ran their business, what would it look like? And I just have a blast sharing those tips and strategies to create that Disney-like culture so that you can create an experience that is memorable, likable, People talk about it. And as a business owner, I'm a business owner. It's all about making money, and that's what we're trying to do. Help you do.
And John, look, would you say that less than 10%, maybe even less than 5% of businesses worldwide actually get it when it comes to the Disney style way of running a business, like providing knock your socks off extraordinary experiences rather than just customer service? Do you reckon it'd be less than 10% of businesses do that?
I think it's getting better, but I would agree that it's way too low from a business perspective. And I think it's the problem, JD, is and your audience needs to understand that sometimes good is the evil of being great. And good means that you're doing a good job. Your business is okay. You have customers. You're not getting very many complaints. So you just think everything is great, and it becomes task driven. Your employees are smiling, yeah, they're helpful, but there's nothing exciting that creates that experience, and they get comfortable. And what happens is all of a sudden they're wondering why they're losing customers or they're not being as more successful as they'd like to be. And they're wondering why the business down the road has got all their customers that they used to have. And usually what they do is they'll blame that victim mentality as, oh, they have something that I don't have, or they're lowering their prices, or they have some advantage. And the reality is they don't. They're just sort of that shiny toy that somebody else wants to play with. So what we try to do is just try to help you become that shiny toy that no one wants to leave you. And then you can charge us whatever you want to charge and have a great base of existing customers.
John, there was a need for Gail, my wife and myself, to go to Los Angeles for a wedding 6 or so months ago, and we stayed at one of the Disney hotels. I said to Gail, look, I know we've been to Disneyland 4 gazillion times, having 6 kids throughout our lifetime, and you can imagine I did a lot of Disney licensing here in Australia, as you know, taking out licenses to produce books and posters and stickers and what have you. So I had to visit Burbank quite a bit to visit Disney. And you can imagine, as I was leaving Australia, if I said to my 6 children, who may have been under 12 at the time, Daddy's just going for a business meeting with Disney at Disneyland, and I'll see you in a week's time, that was never going to happen. Okay, so every business trip cost me about 20 or 30 grand. But last year was the first time that we, thank you, paid your wage. The first time ever that we've been to Disneyland without the kids was this period of time 6 months ago when we went to this wedding. And I said to Gail, look, let's go to Disneyland. She said to me, oh, come on, we've been there a million. I said, look, I want to go there just without the kids to see if it's just as magical. And of course it was. But we were staying in a Disney hotel in Anaheim. And when we got out to go across to the park one day, as we walked past a door, there was a big, I don't know what you guys would call it in America. We call it Glad wrap here. It's a clingy wrap thing that you put your vegetables and various other foodstuffs in to keep them fresh when you put them in the refrigerator. Okay. They had this giant plastic cling wrap holding about 100 balloons on the outside of a door. So as we walked down the hotel alleyway, past hotel room, one of the doors had this big clingy plastic wrap with hundreds of balloons stuck in it. And I had to take a photo of it because this is crazy. I knew what would happen when someone opens the door that morning. All the balloons are going to come in. And I said to the guy downstairs at the information desk, I just had to ask because of what I do. I said, mate, can I just ask you, we're on 414. As I walk past the door, only tell me if you can, but there was a whole bunch of balloons with big cling wrap holding the balloons in. We know what's going to happen when the door opens. He said, oh yes, that's little Marjorie. It's her 6th birthday, and what happens is that when we have guests register, we ask if there's any children celebrating a birthday or something like that. So that's there for her birthday. When someone opens the door this morning, because this was very early, this was like 6:30 in the morning, so this family hadn't got up at that stage. He said when they open up the door, all the balloons will come in and there'll be a birthday card there wishing happy birthday from Mickey and Minnie.
Isn't it? That's an experience, JD. That's people will call it magical, and it's not difficult. It's by choice, and it's what we're going to talk about today. Is how do you find people to do that? Do you think the manager of that hotel said, "Oh, by the way, we have to put balloons in a plastic wrap because somebody's celebrating their birthday"? Or do you think the employees were excited about doing that, knowing that the experience, the result, the happiness, the memories would be awesome? And so businesses will say to me, how do you get those people to do that? Well, you do it because they want to, not because they have to. And that's all about that environment that Disney creates, and any business can create. What I help them create, that culture, so that just becomes top of mind awareness. Why not do that? We have to do it.
So,
And
John, on that basis, then, what's the Disney philosophy? What's your philosophy these days in terms of getting? How do you get the right people, and when you get them, how do you coach them or train them to do that sort of thing?
absolutely. Well, it all starts with getting them. In other words, you have to hire the right people. And as any business um, may know, may not know, my biggest philosophy is the magic begins with people. And you can, Walt said, you can create and design the most wonderful place in the world, but it takes people to make the dream a reality. And you can have a great business, you can have a great product, you can have a retail store, you can have a restaurant, you can be a chiropractor, and you're awesome. You can be a dentist, you're the best dentist in the market. But if you don't have people to make that business come to life, it just won't work. And so Disney makes sure they have the right people, and it's not so different that anybody can do this. It's just making sure they don't settle for just anybody. But here's the secret, and that Disney hires people to fill roles, not positions. And when you think about this, JD, most businesses hire people to fill a position that's open, or they have to fill, whether it's a secretary, whether it's a front desk, front line person, whether it's I need new plumbers, new electricians, I need a dental hygienist, or auto service repairman, or whatever it might be. They're looking to hire someone with the skills to do the job, and that's very, very important, obviously. But more importantly, what happens is later on they complain that the person is not the right fit. That although they have the skills, they're not the kind of person that they really wanted to match what they're trying to achieve in their business. And so it's kind of interesting. I'll travel all over the world, as you know. I do workshops, I speak to audiences, I do coaching. When I ask the simple question, tell me about your experience when you went to Disneyland, Disney World. What was it that was so unique? What made it magical? Very rarely, if ever, anybody ever tells me about the food, the rides, the monorail, the buses, the transportation. They tell me about people, and they tell me about stories, just like you just did,
Yep.
that were created by the staff.
Yep.
And so it's all about, Disney does three things incredibly well. They hire right, they train right, and then they treat right. They treat the people right. And so it's about understanding what is it that you're looking for in that person, what role do they play, and then finding people to fill that role. And that's basically what we have to try to do in any business. Picture this: if you're trying to hire someone that's going to be at a front desk, a reception area, or maybe even answering the phone, they're the ambassadors of your business. They're the front line. They're the first impressions. And yet we hire these people that might be introverted, quiet, reserved. They don't really like people. They complain when the phone rings. And it's like, and yet, businesses, we spend thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars to get the phone to ring, and then the phone rings and our employees don't want to answer it because it's a pain.
It's funny you should say that, John, because on a recent webinar when I was espousing the benefits of having a sexy homepage for your website, how important the actual homepage is for your website, I said the same thing. We spend all of this money on Google AdWords or Facebook advertising or SEO or whatever it might be to drive traffic to our site, and then we've got a crummy homepage on the site. You're saying the same thing. You spend all this money to get people to come to your business, but if your director of first impressions, as in human first impressions, is poor at their job, then you've just wasted your entire investment.
Gosh, and JD, how many times have you and I been in a business and seen somebody in the wrong role?
Yep.
We've seen somebody and said that person doesn't belong there. I mean, they don't want to be there. They're not even good at being there. and who put that person there? That's what I get so frustrated about. And I want to go talk to the manager and say, "Are you serious? That's the face of your business, and yet no eye contact, didn't acknowledge me." Didn't even care. I'll give you a perfect example, JD. We went to this my oldest son is a senior in college, and here in the United States, football is really big, and college football is really big. And we went to a bowl game. A bowl game is sort of a reward at the end of the year. You get selected to go to certain bowl games. So we went to a bowl game in Montgomery, Alabama, and we drove 6 hours to go to this bowl game. And it was real fun and exciting. But you think that the city would embrace the fact that there's going to be 20,000 people that are just going to converge on your city for this bowl game. The hotel that we stayed in, the people at the front desk could care less. We walked in with my son's college hats on and sweatshirts. No one ever asked, "Oh wow," or "Good luck with your team," or "How was your drive?" or "Are you excited about the game?" Nothing. They could care less. And yet, would I want to go back there? When I leave, would I tell everybody that the city of Montgomery, everybody was so friendly? And yet, I'm going to make this impression by just the people at one hotel. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yet, the manager or somebody should have said, I know if I was managing that hotel, I'd say, listen, we're going to treat these people like gold because some of them have never been here. Two, we only get one chance to make a great impression with them. I want to kill them with kindness. I want to welcome them. We're going to have cookies out. We're going to have lemonade. I want to shake their hand and say, you're here. Your drive is over. But I didn't get anything like that, and it's a shame.
John, did you guys get in America the TV series from Britain, starring John Cleese, called 40 Towers?
No, I've heard about it and not seen it.
Yeah, they only made something like a dozen episodes, but it's become, one of the most popular TV series of all time, and it's called 40 Towers, and it was John Cleese, the comedian, who played the role of the manager of the hotel who hated people, and it was it was the opposite from Disney.
That's well, you want. I think some people just do the opposite of Disney, and I'm thinking, and I guess our standards, JD, are really high. Of course, knowing and having spent some time with that organization, but it common sense isn't always common practice.
No. Look, how many times do we go to a restaurant or a hotel or anything to do with the hospitality business? And I'm only picking on that at the moment because it's obviously a very good sort of comparison with Disney, because that's the game they're in. And you just get treated like a number. And there's no way in the world that you're going to walk out of that restaurant and tell everyone at work the next day that you've got to go to that restaurant. It's just unbelievable. That's why, goodness me, I must say that the likes of Disney and Apple just blow me away, because you don't get blown away that often by too many other businesses. Speaking of such, John, in terms of your time running resorts for Disney at Walt Disney World, how did you put into practice the philosophy that Disney has with regards to hiring the right people? What sort of processes did you go through there?
Absolutely. Once we found the right people, and we hired slow. There's a great saying: hire slow, fire fast. Because but companies do the opposite. They hire people fast, and then they take a long time before they finally let them go, and it's just painful to see how businesses operate this way. But one of the things you have to do is you have to do what Walt said. Walt said you need to create the dream, and what Walt meant by that was Walt knew that the whole purpose why anybody would ever be hired at Disney would be to make people happy. That was Walt's dream. He wanted to make people happy. So he made sure that everybody that was hired realized that you're there to make people happy. And you might have a job, you might have tasks and responsibilities, but your primary source is to make people happy. And did you make anybody happy today was my philosophy. And what are we doing today that's going to make someone happy? And of course, that's where those ideas were, the balloons and these other things, because it's embedded in the brains of our staff. Now, how we do that is we take the time before the person even starts their job. We spent time, Disney calls it traditions training. A lot of other companies have orientation programs. But this program is specifically geared towards making people understand why they were hired. What's their purpose? Not their job, but what's their purpose. And you learn the philosophy behind Walt. You learn what Walt's values were. You really for another word, JD, you're kind of brainwashing people to realize that's why you're here, and that your purpose of making people happy is more important than anything. And
Gotcha.
it's influenced by the leaders. It's reinforced by the leadership. So I share that with business owners, because if I'm working with their staff and I'm helping their staff understand that whatever the purpose it is to serve is more important than their job, but yet if their owner or their manager is just beating them over the head, get this done, get that done, and not giving them that opportunity, it's certainly not going to be a good formula for success. So it's understanding that take the time, as any business, you have a dream that you want your business to be so successful. You want your business to be talked about. You want everybody to love your products and your service. Okay, I know as a business owner, and even as managers, we might have the passion, but does that passion get translated down to the staff? And I love spending time every day with my staff. The morning we had stand-up meetings, and we would just stand in the hallway and talk about what are we going to do today that's going to be magical. And what's really neat is when you hear the other people on your staff talk about what they're going to do, and you appreciate that and you support them, they get excited about it. And that becomes that environment where they do it because they want to, not because they have to. And
John,
then,
John, you called this traditions training, did you?
That's correct. That's correct.
So therefore, you're saying that before you would let an employee loose, and I know this might not be 1,000% of the time, but generally speaking, before you'd let an employee loose on the public, they would go through an induction program which showed them the traditions and culture of the business, so that they became a protector of those traditions.
Absolutely, JD, and it wasn't 99% of the time; it was 100% of the time.
Really?
I know. Okay. When I first got to Disney, I'm running their convention hotel. And we have these major conventions coming in and I needed people. And so we needed to get staffing. And we did. We were hiring staffing, but I'm wondering, where are these people? How come nobody's showing up? And they had to go to traditions first before they could come learn their jobs at the hotel. And I would say to myself, gosh darn it, Disney is so structured. But the secret was, JD, when they came back from traditions, you saw the excitement in their themselves, and the confidence and the ability and the wantingness to go out there and do it. And boy, you can't train that. You can't find that. That's just excitement. And what's interesting, JD, about the traditions training, everybody goes to these traditions. They have them multiple times throughout the month, so it's not like just one time, because you can imagine all the people that Disney hires. But whether you're an executive in a suit and tie, or you're a housekeeper, or you're a custodial person, or you're a bus driver, you're all in the same room together hearing that same message.
And you know what? That's the relevance of that to, I think, everybody who's watching this webinar, is that it's fine to put someone through an induction program, and generally speaking, any new employee goes through some sort of training program with regard to your systems and how your systems work, but it's a totally different emotional train ride to put them through the traditions of the business and show them how the culture works. So I think that in itself is something that probably separates Disney from a lot of other companies, because you and I have worked for ourselves for quite some time now, so therefore we're probably, it's not top of mind what we went through when we used to, go for a job. But for those who have been for a job, I bet you lots of them would put their hand up and go, yeah, no, we went through an induction process. It lasted for 2 or 3 or 5 days. We understand the systems. We understand what we need to do and what we can't do. But I bet you very little of that time was spent on the culture and traditions of the company.
Yeah. A lot of my clients that I work with, they'll, believe it or not, they'll throw in a DVD of, the CEO talking from, it's just a recorded message over and over, and it's about 10 years old, and, and I'm thinking it's outdated, and I'm thinking that's not what I'm talking about. That's, I guess that's better than some, but when it's interesting, JD, when you get people that want to do it, one of the things that Disney tries to do is find people that already believe in that. If you find people out there, now, again, business owners and the people that maybe some of your audience here, they might not have all the resources of a Disney. So there might be a small business or and they're going, well, gosh, I don't have access to all this, things that Disney can do, and we don't have a lot of history because Walt Disney obviously is a one of a kind individual. I'm just a person starting my own business, but how many times have we ever walked into a restaurant, a retail store, or a bank, or something like that, and we saw somebody there, and we said, "Wow, I wish I had that person working for me." That's the secret for a small business. You find them out there that are already doing what you want them to do, and then it becomes natural. Obviously, they have to learn your system. They have to learn your do's and don'ts and some of the things, maybe some experiences that you need to have. But when you're out there finding people, I tell small business owners in any business, great people are out there. You just have to find them. And so finding them is a 365-day, 24-hour business. People think I only have to look for people when I have an opening. No, you need to be looking for people all the time, because you can't afford when that person is so good that you said, oh gosh, this person would be perfect in my business. You can't afford to let that person slip away, because that's where that transition from once you hire them to once they join your business, they're already running, rather than you trying to force your philosophy or force your values on them. You can't force anything on anybody nowadays, that's for sure.
And John, you give a great demonstration of hiring the right people for the right job with the Jason Alexander story. And I know that there's a number of people on this webinar who have heard you tell that story when you were kind enough to come through on a big Skype screen for us in my last seminar. But for those who haven't heard the story, and for those who even have, I think it's a good refresher. Can you tell that Jason Alexander story? Because that's all about square pegs for square holes.
That's right. Jason Alexander is obviously George from Seinfeld. And my family and all of us were just huge fans of Seinfeld. And so when I was watching this show, I never heard of this guy named Jason Alexander. I never saw him before. And I just thought he was the funniest guy in the world. And so I did research about him. And what I found out was he won a Tony Award for singing and dancing in a musical on Broadway. He was nominated for Academy Award for the movie Pretty Woman with Richard Gere and Julia Roberts. 8 times he's nominated for an Emmy Award for a sitcom and television. And he's winning all these international awards. And, he's an incredible actor. And if anybody ever looked at his resume and looked at his accolades, you'd have to agree with me that he is an incredible actor. But the point I make, JD, is this. He's an incredible actor, but can he play every part? And the answer is no. I mean, just imagine Jason Alexander, this short, pudgy, bald guy, playing the part of James Bond. It doesn't work. And yet, how many people in businesses have James Bonds working in their business, or have George Costanzas working in their business, that they really need James Bond type people? And so the key is that as an actors and actresses in the movie world, in the theater world, they find people to fill the role. And once you know that someone's in the right role, it becomes easier for them to do what you want them to do. And like you said, it's not trying to take a square peg and trying to fit it in a round hole, or hoping that this person will fit to our culture, or once I get to talk to them, they'll realize what I'm looking for, and then they'll convert or they'll turn around. And the answer is no. And I've seen people that are even business owners or managers in businesses being in the wrong role. And although they're good people, although they're really good managers, they're really not good at leading people. They're not really good about inspiring people. They're not really good about helping and developing people in their businesses. They just assume that everybody's going to do it because, well, I've done it, so they ought to be able to learn how to do it. And boy, how many times has that the word assuming have affected our businesses?
Oh, you just see it in everyday life when you either talk to the bus driver, or you go to a restaurant, or you go into a retail store. You just think to yourself, you are a square peg. You normally use certain language under your breath, but I mean, you are thinking a square peg, round hole.
Yeah,
John,
absolutely.
the interesting thing with Disney though is that they have a front of house and back of house policy, don't they? Where when you become a staff member in one of their theme parks, and I'm not sure whether this is the case in the resorts, but certainly in the theme parks, you are called a cast member. Can you explain to me what that's all about and what's back of house versus front of house? What's that all about?
That's right.
And how would it apply to an everyday business?
Oh, absolutely. Disney uses that. And Walt was obviously, his background mostly was from movies and cartoons and everything like that. And then he built Disneyland and of course Disney World down the road. So everything he talked about was in this theater. So he used the theater as sort of his theme. And so you were part of the show, and you were hired as a cast member, and you wore costumes. You didn't wear uniforms. You wore costumes. So it was all part of that theme of it is showtime. And Walt was his philosophy. You want to build the happiest place on earth and fill it with happy people, but more importantly, it was showtime. So if you think of a showtime, if you think of watching a theater, a live performance, there's an on-stage performance. You see the actors and actresses performing, and they're not like that in real life, but as they perform, they're certainly living through the story, and we say they're wonderful characters, and we become attached to them, and the show is a fantastic show. So Disney has that same philosophy not only at the theme parks, but also in the hotels as well, where you are on stage as front of the house, as well as back of the house. And it's kind of interesting. I tell this in my workshops and my audiences when I'm speaking, doing keynotes. People don't know that there are over 60,000 people that work at Disney World in Orlando, Florida alone. It's the largest single one location employer in the United States.
Gosh, 60,000.
60,000. And I always ask people this. I said, and you all in the audience think they're wonderful. I mean, who ever met somebody at Disney that wasn't? They're all wonderful people, right? Well, they're not all wonderful. Because I work there. Some of them, I'd hate to say, are not nice. But the whole idea, JD, is as an audience member or as a guest in the resorts or hotels or theme parks, we'll never know that they're not a good person, because when they are on stage, it is showtime. I mean, you can't complain, you can't whine, you can't come with a grumpy attitude, you can't come with a bad attitude. You got to come that it is showtime, as if there was an audience in front of you at a play or or on stage. And so it is showtime, and you have to, and that means everything, not only from appearance, but attitude, but cleanliness of the business, the signage, and I even use yours examples as your websites and your brochures and your TV ads. That's on stage, because that's what your audience is going to see. Behind the stage or backstage is where you can be yourself, and that's where Disney cast members, would get their frustration out, or maybe cool off, or complain that they have to work every Sunday for the next 5 weeks. But they wouldn't complain on stage. You just can't do that. And what Disney does is creates that environment that the fellow cast members would police to make sure that on stage was perfect. So for instance, if I walked out on stage to do my job, let's say I'm working at a hotel, and I forgot to shave today, a fellow cast member would tell me, you can't go out on stage looking like that.
Really?
Because it's bad show.
Gosh.
Now imagine that.
Yeah.
Most businesses will let it go and wait for the manager to say something, and then most businesses, manager will say, next time you shave tomorrow, make sure you shave tomorrow. Or some managers may not even say anything.
John, you've hit on something which I've shared with you when we had a beer or two when you were in Australia and we did the tour. By the way, just so people know, John was out in Australia 18 months, 2 years ago, and we did a tour around the capital cities, and it was called If Disney Ran Your Business, What Would It Look Like? And it was John's first trip to Australia, and so we just took the piss out of him whenever we could by using Australian slang. And he would get his little notebook out and go, hang on, let me just write that down. What did you just say then? And we'd say, well, we're flat out like a lizard drinking. And he'd say, what does that mean? I said, it just means we're busy. We're flat out like a lizard drinking. So John took that notebook home with a whole lot of Australian slang in it. But when John was out, we were having a few drinks, and I explained just a couple of Disneyland stories. On one occasion, I was in Disney with my family, and I was there with a friend with his family, and we just decided to do the whole Griswold tour on the west coast of America, and Disneyland was one of the stop-offs. And I remember seeing the magical electrical light parade, and we just thought we'd annoy the guest services division of this hotel we were staying in. It was a Disney hotel, by asking myself and my buddy, walked up to the counter, and our wives knew we were doing this and they were embarrassed, and we just said, oh, hello Trixie, could we just ask a question, because it said ask me anything, and we said, could you tell us how many light bulbs are in the Disney electrical light parade every night? A stupid question, and if anyone asked me, I would just tell them where to go. This girl couldn't be more helpful. She said, oh yes, sorry, just wait a minute. She picks up a phone and she rings somebody, and she goes, hey Chuck, it's Julie or whatever from the guest relations. We have a guest who would like to know how many light bulbs are in the electrical light parade. And my mate and myself, we looked like something out of one of those Griswold movies. We're just looking at each other with our jaw dropped, and she goes, oh thank you. She writes down a number, and she said to us, 3,464,381 light bulbs, and she writes on a bit of paper and gives it to us, and it was like one of those frozen moments in the movies. We just went, right, thank you, as we walked away, and we didn't wake up till afterwards. She probably rang no one. She just made that shit up just to get these two nuisances off her desk. But the point is, instead of being like I would have been, sarcastic, oh get out of here, don't be so stupid, she actually went through the motion of, at least if she was pretending so bad, she probably wasn't, maybe she did ring, so she was as nice as pie. I would have brought security in to escort us out.
Yeah, it's, and that it's, you think about the volume of people that come to Disney day in and day out. Those questions have probably been asked numerous times.
True.
And I bet you someone asked that question, and I bet you someone said, I don't know, but let's find out. And then all of a sudden it becomes someone else asks that question, and it's like, I know the answer. Let me tell you. And now think about that girl. She feels really good about herself because she can help you. She actually doesn't feel stupid in saying, well, I don't know. That's like most business would say, I never heard that before.
Yep, you did right.
So it's all of those things. And think about when you're on stage and you put a couple things together, right? I'm on stage. I'm in my right role on stage. So I'm playing the right role while I'm on stage. I'm excited about being there. And I know that every time somebody comes up to me, I have to make you happy.
Yeah.
So here you go up there. They said, I got to make you happy. How do I make you happy? I don't know the answer, but I'm going to find someone else who will. And so it's in that idea and that philosophy, and it's no different that if you're in healthcare, you have a passion to serve. You have you have to care about people, care about your grandmother, care about your mom or your dad that's sick. How many times have we been to a healthcare facility and they don't care?
Yep.
Well, how can you be in healthcare if you don't care?
Yep.
And so if I'm a manager of that medical facility, gosh, you better care, or you'll find yourself another job, because that's what we do. We have to care. And so if you're in a restaurant, you're serving people, you're providing a restaurant experience. You're not just serving food. If you're a dentist, you're not just providing dental hygiene. You're creating a pleasurable experience. Who likes to go to the dentist? Nobody. But while you're there, let's make it a good one. Let's make it a pleasant. Let me ask you how you been. And I just took my sons during the Christmas break. They went to the dentist for their annual checkup, and they're asking them how's school, how's everything going. Create those relationships with people. I know I'm not going to enjoy going to a dentist, but while I'm there, at least it was enjoyable. They cared about me, and that's that philosophy I think that every business can really hone in on and take the advantage over their competition who probably doesn't care.
John, so therefore you're telling all of our audience at the moment that part of the Disney mantra, like a big, big part, was that every day when you went to work, you had to make people happy. That was very loud and clear.
That's right. And I used to ask my staff, what did we do today? What did you do today? And it wasn't, what did you do because you have to do it. I was excited to hear what they did. Yeah. And what happens is you create this environment, you create this momentum of people wanting to outdo each other. I'll give you a perfect example, JD. When in the resort division, the philosophy of Disney obviously is to make people happy. But when the resort division, when I was there, we went from 3 hotels and a campground to 16 hotels. And so all of a sudden the resort division went from 4,000 employees to 25,000 employees. We wanted to create our own little dream, our own little purpose, for that matter, statement. So the leaders could probably brainstorm. That wasn't what we wanted to accomplish. We wanted it to be the idea of the hourly staff. We wanted it to be their purpose, not just our purpose. We knew what we wanted to achieve, but it's so much more effective when it becomes theirs, not ours. And so, and you get the buy-in and the ownership. We had 300 people that were hourly employees, hourly cast members, to come up with our purpose for the resort division, just the resort division. And so we left them alone for a month. We had a couple of HR, human resource people, just helping facilitate the process. But there wasn't any managers in this committee to do this. Well, about a month later, they came back and they said, we have our purpose. We have our new mission of what we're trying to seek every day. And we said, well, what is it? And they said, dream, DREAM. And I said, the rest of us managers were all in this auditorium, and we said, well, that's pretty cool. Walt was a dreamer. And they go, no, it's an acronym. It stands for something. We said, and then Disney Resort Experiences are magical. DREAM. And our jaws dropped. We went, wow, it's so powerful. So someone said, well, what does that mean? And they said, we are going to make sure that every guest that stays in the Disney hotel, that their experiences are magical. And JD, you should have seen the marketing folks. You appreciate this. They hired, these multi-billion companies to come up with a new mission, new purpose. All they had to do is ask the cast members. They came up with it, right?
Yep.
So I think it was a setup question, because someone said, how are you going to do that? How are you going to create those experiences and make them magical? And all of a sudden, on this large screen was thousands of ideas that were created by those 300 people in the room from all of the different departments. And they brainstormed and they got excited, and most of that stuff didn't even cost money to do, but it got everybody excited about wanting to do that. And that's where you got the housekeepers drawing little animals out of washcloths and putting the little dolls and stuffed animals next to windows with a little sign that says, we missed you, all those things, or putting the balloons by the door from someone celebrating birthday. That's where all those ideas came out.
Yep.
And it wasn't anybody other than the cast members, and we gave them the opportunity to do it, and we said, run with it, because it's going to make people happy.
See, two things there I take out of that is that, number one, you're advocating that no matter what size business you are, if you have a few staff, if you have lots of staff, then you should get them involved in the ideation. I call it the ideation process, coming up with ideas. But of course, that will only make sense if you've got the right people in the first place. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. And the other piece of that is, one of the things I used to challenge my cast members was this. Walt had one of the things, I was a big reader of Walt. I studied Walt before I even worked at Disney. And then obviously working for Disney I just wanted to know more about Walt and what he stood for and how he came about all these incredible imaginatory ideas and so forth. So one of the greatest quotes that Walt had was, whatever you do, plus it by 1. So whatever you do, if you answer the phone, if you are coming up with a product or service, or you're talking to people, whatever it is, plus it by 1. Just in other words, what can you do to make it that much better? Mm-hmm. And I used to get my staff excited by asking them every day, all right, what do we do to plus it 1 more today? And they would come up with these great ideas, and then I would challenge them again and say, listen, how can you plus that 1 more time? And they would go, oh, John, you're driving us nuts, John. And I go, I know, but I want you to plus us 1 more time. And came up with incredible ideas. And again, they were excited. And of course, the big piece of that, JD, was we recognized them for not necessarily monetarily by giving them money or, big prizes and stuff like that. Just acknowledging the fact that we appreciate what you bring the hourly cast, what you bring to this organization, because without you, we can't survive.
All about over delivering, isn't it? Over delivering.
Absolutely.
Yeah, giving
Absolutely.
them my tagline for my business, John. I don't know whether you've looked at my logo, and I won't blame you if you haven't, but the little tagline underneath the Institute of Wow logo says, learning to deliver the unexpected. And
Absolutely.
and I
And you
believe that what you're doing now is teaching, hopefully, a lot of our people how to deliver the unexpected, how to over deliver.
Absolutely. And JD, you do that so well. You're one of the best people on the planet that I've ever known that knows how to do it from that marketing perspective. And whether it's your brochure, your website, commercials, or any kind of marketing materials that you put together, that and you preach it, you teach it. You're an incredible consultant of this, of getting businesses to understand it. What Disney does is they create it. Now once they get to your business, right? Once they're buying your product or visiting your establishment, you got to be able to give them that experience. And that's what I focus on, as you know.
Yeah, and John, the thing is that if you give that over delivery, if you give that experience that they won't have elsewhere, you're naturally stimulating repetitive trade, because what we want, all of us in business, is not a customer. We want a lifetime value customer. We want someone
Absolutely.
who's going to be with us for a year, 2, 3, 5, 7, whatever it may be. And that, of course, comes with doing everything that we've spoken of here, or you've spoken of here. But in a smaller business, it comes from collecting data. And you know how fanatical I am on that. Because the tragedy, for most businesses, go into a restaurant tonight and you can spend $150 or $200 or $500 and they won't ask for your details. And nor does McDonald's in Australia here. We have 1.7 million people per day going through McDonald's. Goodness knows what it would be in America. We're only 7.5% of your population. So we have 1.7 million people a day going through McDonald's. And McDonald's, as good a marketer as they are, have absolutely no clue who any one of those people are. They do not collect any data, and yet they give you a receipt for you to stand there for a minute or two pretending that they're making your hamburger fresh. Why wouldn't they give you a pencil or pen to fill in a contest entry form and collect data? So therefore, my view is, John, is that take what you're giving us here today and add the next perspective to it and that is make sure you build a lifetime customer by collecting the data.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you and I have talked about this so often. Providing a great customer experience isn't just about making everybody feel good, making the customer feel good. As a business owner, making people feel good doesn't put money in the bank. It doesn't pay for our mortgages in our businesses. What I try to do is help people understand that experience is going to set you apart from everyone else. Top of mind awareness. They're going to refer others to. That's where you keep these customers. It's a financial decision. It's a business decision that customer experience has to be part of that marketing plan that you do on your end so well. It's got to be part of that so that they are different. And we think of McDonald's, and I always tell businesses, don't do what McDonald's is doing now. Do what they did before they were McDonald's.
I agree.
Right?
Yeah.
Because that's where I'm sure not only back then maybe the hamburger was better than today. I don't know. But
Yeah.
it was a successful model and they were able to duplicate it. But I'm sure those people that went to those restaurants, those McDonald's restaurants in the beginning, had a good experience.
Yep.
And they realized, okay, we can duplicate this experience elsewhere. And of course but if it was a lousy experience, I don't think McDonald's would have survived.
You're right, John, and I think too. In the last few years, I've been quite critical of McDonald's here in Australia. I'm not sure America, but I think they've lost that incredible customer experience that they used to have. They just don't. I don't think they've got the round pegs and the round holes anymore. I see a lot of 16 and 17-year-old kids behind that counter that don't give a Disney type experience. I can assure you.
It's kind of interesting. I did a workshop the other day and talked about Starbucks. I'm finding Starbucks is the same thing. Starbucks is known for this passion to serve, and they've created a great product. We know they've created a great community. Everybody wants to be in a Starbucks and walk around with a Starbucks cup and sit and socialize and wait online, and we spend $5 for a cup of coffee. So they got that part right. But as you and I travel, I'll go into a Starbucks and they are so inconsistent
Yep.
now,
Yep.
and it's because they built so many, I think. But I think they're washing. I don't know. Maybe they're diluting their training experience or hiring experience because I can tell the better Starbucks have the better managers because it's all about that environment that's created by whoever that manager is. If that manager doesn't care, I'm sure the employees don't care, and they hire the same kind of people that don't care.
But
But I
John, doesn't
find that same thing.
doesn't it come down to the three principles that you've been revealing to us today? Number one, get the right people for the job,
Absolutely.
and I don't think McDonald's and Starbucks are doing that now. I'm not sure what their criteria is to get a job there, but I'm telling you, my experiences in Starbucks here in Australia is exactly yours, and that is inconsistency. So, A, get the right person for the job and do what you have to do to make sure you do that. Number two, train them about the culture of the organisation so that they understand that. And of course, number three, over deliver. And I can
Absolutely.
assure you that in Australia, you won't get too many experiences at a McDonald's restaurant where you'd walk out and go, well, that was over delivery.
Yeah, exactly. McDonald's has a unique experience. I guess if you're a child, you're not really looking at those things as well. But the parents are the ones that bring the children,
Yep.
and they're the ones that are spending the money.
John, can I? We've got about 10 minutes left, and
Sure.
I want you to share with our audience how they can get hold of an incredible offer that you've got for us in terms of providing some expertise in the area that you specialise in. We'll touch on that in just a moment before the end of the webinar, but just for
Okay.
a couple of minutes, I want you to retell the story that you've told at our seminars a couple of times, and it's worth retelling, and that is the Disney win-back principle, that if they have a customer that for whatever reasons is disappointed in something, how they win them back. And you've got a magnificent story that you might be able to share with us about the resorts when the hotel room toilet broke, how you satisfied the customer who, we all, I'm Mr. Unlucky, so every hotel room I go into, the toilet breaks, so that's just me. But we've all been in that instance whereby the toilet breaks, and you don't hold it against the hotels so much, but you are disappointed. What do Disney do when that happens?
Well, again, we try to understand that things are going to go wrong in any business, any organization. Things go wrong. So what at Disney we did was we had a plan for when things went wrong, and if you ask the cast members what goes wrong on a typical day, they'll tell you. And some we need to fix it so it doesn't go wrong anymore. But other times it's just something's going to happen. All right, so what's the next step? And what we have to do is we're Disney, so we have to make it a sort of a negative event turn into a positive event. You do that by over delivering. You do it by creating a magical experience. So picture this: you go to the hotel and your toilet is running in the back tank, not overflowing water, but in the tank, it makes that sissing noise, and it's just there's some kind of mechanically thing. I'm not mechanically inclined, but there's some flap or something that's not working right, and so the water seeps through and it makes this sissing noise. So obviously it's an inconvenience for if you're staying in the room, you're going to hear this. So think about this. We tell somebody about it. We go into the parks or do something, and we're wondering what happens. Is it going to get fixed? So whenever they would tell us, our staff was trained to ask them, well, first of all, we're really sorry. We apologize. We don't try to defend and say, yeah, it happens all the time, or really that never happened before, or we don't try to defend it. We just say, we're so sorry. We ask them, what are your plans right now? So that they tell us they're going to have breakfast and they're going to come right back to the room. That means high priority. Got to get it fixed right away. But most of the time they said they're going to go into the parks. They're going to go to the pool. They're going to be gone for a while. We can then put it on some priority things. So the maintenance person would come and fix the toilet. Now, if you and I go back to that room, we're wondering, did it get fixed? I don't know. I guess I don't hear it. That's not good enough. So what we did was we put a little tent card, a little note card that was handwritten by the maintenance person, and it said, sorry for the inconvenience, but just letting you know your toilet's fixed. Sorry for the inconvenience. Have a great day. Have a magical day. And he or she would sign it. And it would be pretty cool. Okay, honey, they fixed it. You're good. Well, I challenged my staff And I said, all right, we got to plus it by one more. What else can we do to plus it? And my staff came up with this incredible thing that was, I think, better than the Happy Meal at McDonald's. And I think I have one of these. I'm going to slide over here and get something. What we did was, JD, is right next to the tent card, we put a little, and I don't know if you can see it with the camera,
Yep.
a little figurine.
Yeah.
This little Disney figurine right next to the tent card. And everybody, when they got back to their room, went nuts over this little figurine. They couldn't believe that this little thing was there. And, this doesn't cost Disney very much money, pennies, I guess. But what it did was it created a magical experience because their children would hold it and take it with them and go on the rides and sleep with it. And some of the parents used to tell me, gosh, if I would have known that little thing would have given my child so much pleasure, I would have bought a bunch and saved $5,000 coming here. But here's the neat thing, JD. They take it home with them. And when they go home and they tell their friends and family members, everyone's going to ask, how was your trip to Disney? Of course, it was great. We did this, we did that. We had a lot of fun, took some bunch of pictures. They're always going to come out and say, but you should have seen this little thing we got. And they told them about the story about their toilet running and how they got this little toy. Their friends say, gosh, when I go to Disney, I hope my toilet overruns too. And it's all about taking the eye off the problem.
Yep.
By creating a magical experience that's up and beyond, things went wrong. Okay, Disney fixed it, first of all. That was good.
Yep.
But more importantly, they added just something a little bit unexpected. No different than with the story that you tell, the McDonald's Happy Meal. It's not the burger that was very good. Yep. Every child wanted that little toy.
Yep.
Well, that was to get them to buy.
Yep.
Think about little toys, or think about little things extra that you can do when things go wrong, that they're going to take the eye off the problem, and then they go, really wasn't that bad of a problem.
You got it.
And now you've just created that great experience.
And whilst Disney may not call it that term, I've been involved with a number of the bigger businesses that call it the win-back program. They win back a disgruntled customer. And John, before I get you to share with us how any of our audience can get this special offer from you, if you think through what wow factors are just no-brainers. In other words, they just can't fail. You think of things like, little baby kittens, little puppy dogs, plush toys, the little soft plush toys, whether it be teddy bears or what have you, and so on and so forth. A bunch of people say to me, look, with this wow factor thing, can you tell me, what are no-brainers? And I say, well, look, obviously if you're, depending upon what business you're in, you have to manufacture or provide the wow factor bonus giveaway that's suitable to your audience. But there are certain evergreens that just work all the time. So, for example, if you give someone 2 cinema tickets to go and watch a movie, that's going to be suitable for all ages and both sexes. So you just know that's going to be a no-brainer gift that people would want. Whereas if I gave you a lawnmower and you happen to be a middle-aged lady, then that's not really an attractive bonus, is it? One of the bonuses that I believe is always a winner is chocolate-coated strawberries. And as silly as that may sound, that no matter who you put chocolate-coated strawberries in front of, their terminology is wow.
That's right.
I always say that the litmus test is whether or not they say wow. Now, you're going to say wow to a little baby puppy, to a little kitten. You're going to say wow to a fluffy toy. You're going to say wow to that little Disney figurine that you just showed me. And you're certainly going to say wow to chocolate strawberries. There's a company here in Australia that I recommend to all of my clients to get onto and grab their items. They make chocolate-coated strawberries and they put them in these beautiful gift boxes. And John, I recommend that you might look it up because it's something that you could probably include in your presentation. It's called wickedberries.com.au. Wickedberries. And the reason I bring that up is because if I had a hotel and it was not a Disney hotel, if I had a regular hotel, I would put on the bed of every single hotel room, because you can get little $25 packs of these or $50 packs of these, one of these boxes of chocolate strawberries. I'm telling you, if that was on the bed of the hotel room when I walked in, do you think price would ever be part of my decision-making process when I came back to that city ever again? Never.
That's unbelievable.
And for the hotel, that's a Happy Meal toy. That's what I guess I'm saying.
Yeah, it's an investment in the experience, isn't it, JD?
You got it.
And
You got it.
and it's an investment that no one else is going to do. And so
That's
you
right.
do it, you're going to separate yourself from everyone else. I have an auto service repair shop that gives you free coupons to go get your car washed. So again,
There
that's
you
what
go.
their tie-in is, right?
There you go.
How many of us get our cars serviced? But we know a car runs better when it's clean, right? How many
Yeah.
times you've gotten your car cleaned and it goes, boy, it really runs better, right? Well, we cut a deal with automatic car wash place. He gives them a great deal. Well, it's a win-win because now the car wash owner can even upgrade if they want and do detailing and other stuff, waxing and for
Yep.
your cars.
Yep.
So he's getting customers that he may not normally get. The auto service repair shop is now getting car wash. So I look at my car being dirty. I got to go get my oil change.
You got it.
So
You
it's
got it.
costing me $29.99 to get my oil changed just because I'm getting a car wash, because the perception of that value of that car wash is $14.99. So I'm thinking it's not bad. I'm really getting an oil change for for an extra $10. Well, that's obviously not costing them $14.99. And the strawberries, think of a hotel room. You're going to spend maybe couple $100. You're going to eat there. You're going to drink there. You're going to buy at their gift shop.
Yep.
You're going to all that stuff adds up.
Yep.
What is that box of chocolates worth? Man,
You got it. And John, my what would I say, calculation for this wow factor bonus is always asking the business owner, would they be prepared to give up 10% of the sale price in order to dramatically increase their business, possibly double or even triple the sales? And of course the answer is yes. And I say, good, well, just turn the 10%, what would have been a 10% discount in a hotel room, for example. If it's a $250 hotel room, by the time they have breakfast and dinner, it's more likely, $400 expenditure. Would they be prepared to invest 10% of that, $40, in a box of strawberries, chocolate-coated strawberry, versus 10% off? And I know which one would work. And of course, the answer always is yes. Of course, I would be, willing to invest 10% of whatever the sale price is to double my business. And yet, nobody, well, I won't say nobody, but not many people do it. Because if you do it, if you deliver the unexpected, if you have the right people working for you, and you actually do provide the experience that's going to be a wow one, then guess what? The competitor down the road, the best they will ever do is a 10% discount against you, and that will never win. That will never win.
Yeah.
John, can I ask you? Can I ask you, mate, before we go, thank you very, very much for your time, and I know it's late at night where you are, so thank you especially for that. John, there's a whole bunch of people who are on this call who I'm sure would be interested in the offer that you have for us today. So can you provide us with the details of that offer and what people have to do if they'd like to take you up on that?
Absolutely, JD. When I do workshops and I speak at audiences, people want more of, obviously we only have a short period of time to share this sort of thing. So I just like to give. I just want to give. I want to help businesses and organizations, just like anyone in your audience there. So it's all about getting a little bit more of me. And so I've created some products that people can do. I have a book that it's actually kind of a Disney in a box here and it's got a
John, can you hold that up again? And say, if Disney ran your business, what would it look like? Terrific. Okay,
there you go.
Great.
And it's kind of like Disney in a box. Okay. Good. And so if you're a business owner or manager or run a business and you'd like to learn how to do it, there's a few things. You get my book, which is a top-selling book, Making the Customer Experience Magical Now. Really, how to succeed in business and beat out your competition. You get it on a DVD. So you can show it to people and train folks. You can actually also get it on an audio, so you can put it in your car or listen in your computer. One of the things we talked about today, JD, was how to find and interview and hire magical people. And so here's a 3-hour workshop on how to do that. And it's a live workshop that I've created from that. So you get all of that. And the neat thing is I always throw in a bonus that you get me. And the reason why you get me is because I want to help you. So I offer a 45-minute bonus. JD calls it the Happy Meal toy. I'm throwing that in. It's a bonus to Skype with me for 45 minutes. Obviously, many of you members being in Australia, I can't come visit you over the weekend. You'd love to, but Skype is a great technology that I can just. So we meet for 45 minutes on a Skype call. tell me some of the challenges you're having, and I'll be able to help you with all that. So it's a great way to just start building a relationship. It's my way of giving back.
Now, John, let me ask you, that is a Skype call personally with you, not with your apprentice or someone who works with you. That 45-minute Skype call is with you.
That's absolutely correct. It's just you and I, whatever that is, one-on-one. Technology's great, and I ask you to come up with a couple of challenges. It's scheduled in advance, so you can talk about it. You can have a couple of team members or your assistants on the call, whatever it is, and I just want to help you, and so it's a great way of doing that. And I just do an incredible offer for that as well. So it's $495 for that whole package, including me, which, as you know, my time is valuable.
You're going to be what would I say? You're going to not want to divulge to people the sort of money that you charge for presentations because you're a nice guy, you don't want to show off. But I happen to know, and I hope you don't mind me saying this, but I happen to know that organisations pay John up to $15,000 for a 90-minute presentation at their conference or convention. So to be given the opportunity for a US $495 investment to actually have the opportunity to grab you for 45 minutes on a Skype call is incredible. So thank you very much for making that offer for our people, John.
You're welcome, JD. And all they need to do is go to info@johnformica.com. So that's info at John, JOHNFORMICA.com. And just tell me you're interested in the program, and then you'll have your email. I'll send you the details. We can make that all work. It'd be an honor and a privilege to help anybody out there that I can.
Well, that's
especially
fabulous, John.
Any of your members, JD. I'd love to help them.
Well, John, I've already had incredibly positive reports from members of our program who have invested in your $495 offer when you made a similar offer a few months ago at one of our Gold Coast presentations. So they've just raved about the over delivery. I mean, you practice what you preach. Hopefully I do as well. It's for others to judge, but I mean, it's you practice what you preach. You absolutely over deliver. So may I say to any of our crew who are watching this, then that would be pretty much the best US $495 that you could invest. The stuff that's in John's magical box is all very valuable. It's terrific to have the DVDs and the audios and the book and programs and everything else, but to get him for 45 minutes on a Skype call to show you how to run your business like Disney, that's your particular business. Not like this where we're doing a general overview on a whole host of different sort of industries. You've got him for 45 minutes helping you Disneyfy your business. That is just incredible. So thank you very much, John, for that offer. Okay. And once again, to get that, they just go to info@johnformica.com.
That's correct.
John, thank you very, very much. I know it's bedtime. You're probably going to go downstairs now and grab yourself a coffee before you hit the sack. But thank you very much for going to this trouble of doing this so late at night, your time. I really, really appreciate it. And I'm sure I say on behalf of everyone on the webinar, it's been a magical experience.
Thank you, JD. It's been an honor. You're an awesome guy, and just keep doing the great job that you're doing over there.
Thanks, mate. All the very best, Jono.
All right, thank you.
See you later. And thanks everybody for joining us on the webinar. We have our 5-minute restroom coffee break now, so go and make yourself a cup of coffee or get to the restroom, and in 5 minutes time get on to the teleconference. You have the number to get onto, and you can ask me any questions you like. The teleconference normally goes for around 30 minutes, so we'll see you in 5 minutes time.